We are absolutely winning right now. Absolutely. We have done more than change the conversation. We changed the balance of power in the federal government.
But Black power starts with Black women. It just does.
Because there are a lot of people in this country who do not like Black women, but Black women are the base of the Democratic Party.
Give a nigga a break. Give a nigga a break. How much more can I take? Give a nigga a break. Give a nigga a break. Give a nigga a break. How much more can I take? Give a nigga a break.
Nigga, please. Serious.
All you do, you're doing the same old thing. You never do nothing new.
Oh, yeah, we are back. We got a lot to go over this morning. Welcome to the show. Thank you guys for tuning in one more time. Please do all the customary things, the liking, sharing, subscribing, all the things, right? We got to jump into real political drama happening. I kind of always knew things were headed in this direction, but I couldn't really predict the general, like the literal shape of the conflict, but I knew the conflict was approaching. And that not only is the Black vote kind of fracturing a little bit away from the Democrats as a thing, Democrats are noticing a trickling away from the Black vote, or at least the Black vote is trickling away from the Democrat Party. And as if that weren't bad enough, within the Democrat Party itself, you have a bit of a war going on. You have the Democrats as a general national party with all the money and the institution and the tradition and all that. And then you have this new group of people. And there are Black people in this new group, and they're basically called the DSA, the Democratic Socialist, right? And the Democratic Socialists, although they have a few Black people in there, it is largely a very white, wealthy, children of wealth type of group of people. Like all of your popular socialist people that you can name in politics, or even like the big time podcasters, maybe, shout out to Hassan. We're going to get to Hassan in a minute. But a lot of these people are either wealthy on their own, or mostly they come from, pretty well off to do millionaire level parents. But for whatever reason, they hate capitalism. All the money that they actually have and have around them, but they hate capitalism. It's a very odd thing. But this group of people, these socialists, right? They're not really racially coded as much as the Black Democrats want to be. Even if it's only just for Black people, Black Democrats are feeling very much squeezed out of the whole new movement right now. And you got the Democrats and the Democrat Socialists and the Black Democrats all kind of struggling right now, fighting for identity, for power, for positioning, for political survival even. And it's gonna get ugly. It's already getting ugly, but it looks a little bit confusing from the outside to have a bunch of Black people in the Democrat Party effectively accusing other people, other Black people even in the Democrat Party, of racism and white supremacy. Because a lot of these Democrats in the Democrat Party, they're also getting pressure locally. This idea of like, the FBA, and you're paying too much attention to the immigrants and to the Latino community and all this, whatever. They're getting internal pressure from actual Black voters who are looking around at like the Black congressional caucus, and they're like, hey, what the hell, man? I thought voting for Black people meant you were going to do things for Black people, but here you go looking out for everybody else who just ain't Black. And it's actually a very, very real criticism, right? That's the whole point of having your ethnic caucus, right? To look out for your own individual particular ethnic interest. And we're finding out that a lot of the ethnic interest that Black Democrats thought they could bank on is now being squeezed out by a broader socialist movement. There is no Blackness under socialism. I think that's what's really, really going to actually come to the front if they hadn't really learned already, there is no real blackness under socialism. Everybody is red and dead at the same time. You're all red until you're dead. That's really how the Marxist, socialist, political, social world works, right? You can kind of, be nominally black this, black that, but in the grand scheme of things, we're all red until we're dead. And if you're not red, then you're dead already. Like that's kind of how they approach the whole concept. And this is why there is going to be, there is right now this giant internal tug of war going on in mainstream Black Democrat politics. But that's enough right now of me rambling. Let me get to some of the argumentation, because we love to go around Twitter and talk about all the interesting takes that the Twitter people have and the TikTok people. Not only Twitter, the TikTok is a lot of leftist content, because I don't go to like Blue Sky. I'm not on Facebook or Instagram, but I noticed there's a lot of political content on TikTok as well. And yeah, the TikTok niggas are not happy. The TikTok
People within the DSA needs to understand that race will always be a factor within America, and that there needs to be a better commitment to the Black working class in order for them to be more successful. I think that the platform of the DSA is great, and I, of course, am voting for them any day over the establishment. But I do think that people do have to be more in touch with the Black community and address the struggles that we specifically have faced for decades. For instance, in parts of New York City, I find it concerning that the DSA can really attribute their increased backing to the increased population percentage of white educated voters. We can look at Jabari Bridgeport, who represents an area in Brooklyn that has gone from around 75% Black to less than 40% Black in just 20 years. And then other areas in NYC where the DSA has increased because of the increase in, again, white educated voters and the decrease in Hispanic and Asian communities. I will always say that socialism does a good job at addressing.
Now, remember, it's really interesting watching the political interest of these, poor working class Black people get pushed out for what is literally a group of wealthy, not just college, but like university educated. Like a lot of these people, they come from good homes, their parents had a real good marriage. And now they're moving into, they're a part of the gentrification wave of Brooklyn. And they're pushing out a lot of the native Black population, literally and politically.
Class issues, but it does not do a great job at addressing the racial issues that will continue whether we live under socialism or not. Many white leftists want us to forget about race because I guess it takes away from the movement. But as Black Americans, our lived experiences has taught us that regardless of the political system that we're in, Black people will always be an afterthought. As a white person, you have not lived the Black experience, so therefore you have no agency in telling Black people how they should acknowledge their race within America. Far too long, progressive candidates have promised Black people things, and we have yet to see a lot of the tangible results. I think if you're in the political sphere, you have to gain the trust of Black people in order for you to be successful. Instead of assuming that we all have the same issues that can be solved by implementing one political ideology, we need to ask why Black people are so disillusioned when it comes down to this political system and see what tangible results that we can bring on instead of grouping all of us together. People within the DSA needs to understand that race will always be a factor within America, and that there needs to be a better commitment to the Black working class in order for them to be more successful. I think that the platform of the DSA is great, and I, of course, am voting for them any day over the establishment. But I do think that people do have to be more in touch with the Black community and address the struggles that we specifically have faced for decades. For instance, in parts of New York City, I find it concerning that the DSA can really attribute.
I'm telling you, there is a lot of rumbling, straight up accusations of racism right now coming out of their Black left. The Black left is unhappy.
Southern progressives who supported government spending for social safety nets as long as Black people didn't get it. That's why FDR had to make concessions on equality in order to get the New Deal passed. And that's also why The reason the Southern strategy worked is because when LBJ opened up social safety nets to Black people, those Dixiecrats said, fuck no, and they left and went to the Republican Party. When LBJ says we lost the South for a generation, he knew that was because those fucking Dixiecrats never wanted to be equal with Black people. So now that we're at a point where the white nationalists have taken over and the Nazis are back, you have the Tucker Carlsons and the MTGs, and now we're running fucking Nazis in Maine. The white nationalists are trying to come back to the Democratic Party and rebuild the fucking Dixiecrats. And they're okay with that. Hassan Piker is saying he doesn't give a fuck about the Black vote. Good luck, my nigga.
Yeah, Hassan Piker is attempting to like shed the more radical Black part of the Black vote from the whole DSA movement. They want you to be good little niggas, all right? That's really what's going on. And it's crazy as hell. Black people and Black leftism are getting their Negro wake-up call. That's really what's going on right now. There's a lot of Black people and Black leftism who notice that their Blackness isn't really as loved and desired as they thought it would be.
So I think a lot of Black folks have the perspective that the DSA and socialists writ large have an anti-Blackness or a racist problem, and that's like repelling Black voters to coming over to the DSA. And I agree with you. Nobody hates a white leftist more than me. I do just want to offer though a yes and to this, because what it often feels like is folks are placing the problem with being leftism and not white supremacy, because the Democratic Party, the sort of normative establishment Democratic Party, is also racist and anti-Black. Just the manifestation of that looks different. It looks like engaging with Black communities, but only around issues of like criminal justice and policing, right? It looks like Nancy Pelosi kneeling with a damn kente cloth on in response to police violence, right? It looks like Haley Stevens.
Now, all the things that Black folk was praising the Democrats for, just like 4 years ago, 6 years ago during the Floyd riots, now they're calling that racist, right? Kneeling in front of George Floyd with the Kunta cloth on, that's racist now.
Taking a bunch of AIPAC money to misrepresent the image and words of Barack Obama to make it seem like he is endorsing her to try to potentially help her with Black voters. That is also anti-Black, but like I think we've just sort of like normalized that so it doesn't like appear as egregious as it is. It also looks like what Ested Herndon calls little r racism, which is that for so long the Democratic Party assumed that changing demographic norms would ultimately just result in Black and brown people like coming over to the Democratic Party, such that they didn't actually effectively respond or listen to the needs of Black communities, of Latinx communities, and other folks of color. So yes, do white leftists have an anti-Blackness problem they need to solve? Absolutely. Absolutely. They do not know how to be in community with Black people, and they love to talk about no war but class war, but still call you a nigger. So absolutely they have a problem they need to solve. I just don't want us to like be placing the blame with like leftism when the problem is just white supremacy writ large in the way that white people, particularly in electoral politics, love to talk down to Black people, love to pander to us instead of actually deeply and fully engaging with Black communities and working to undo the problem of anti-Blackness and racism in American society. So I think a lot of Black folks.
Now, you know what's crazy, right, is that all this time, left-leaning Black people, and Black people, you know, generally speaking, are relatively left-leaning, but all these Black people politically, they would accuse you of racism. They would accuse you of all this Uncle Tomery if you happen to be a right-leaning Black person, right? If you were Black and conservative, what do they tell you? You over there with them white boys. You over there with them racists. But look at what they're finally revealing right now. Right now. And they're not even using coded language. They're not trying to be cute about it. They're saying definitively that the Democrats have been, and will continue to be the party of white people who hate black people. And y'all been up there cozying up to these people this whole time, but accusing everybody else of being a coon. Meanwhile, you, according to your own words, you're surrounded by all these white people who hate black people. How did we get here?
I think that I missed something really important during the California primary. And now that I've seen what happened in New York, I want to revisit that and also ask you guys for your thoughts on this too. During all of my posts about the California primary, specifically for the Los Angeles mayor's race and the
And I'm reading you guys' comments in the chat. And I'm enjoying all of your comments in the chat, but I'm trying my best to not take the bait. I'm trying my best to not take the bait. You know why I'm not going to take the bait? You know why? Because when you're studying leftism and progressivism and all, and especially the Democrat Socialist Party in general, like the Democratic Socialists, like communists in general, are not pretty. Is that like a shocking statement? Is that a racism? Is it racist to say that communists in general are not pretty? Because I'm just, you know, I'm not even going to be surprised about how not pretty any of these chicks happen to be. You know, it's almost a shock when you find a pretty one. It really is kind of a shocker, because those are probably the ones that convince all the other guys to follow along, right? Because most of them are just not pretty.
California governor's race. I got a lot of comments from Black Californians who really specifically felt like some of the candidates I was endorsing were not addressing their needs specifically. And there were one or two issues where I said, respectfully, I just don't think that this is something that can be solved on a local or state level. I do think that that's a nationwide conversation. But there were a lot of things that maybe I didn't hear when you guys were saying it the first time. The reason why the New York primary is bringing this to light a little bit more for me is because I grew up in Northern New Jersey. I am familiar with New Yorkers and how they are and what they vote for. I still have plenty of family and friends who live there. I understand the demographics of that area. And moving to California was a shock for me because it is so different over here. And to be completely frank with it, one of the biggest issues that I have seen in California that I did not see over there was a disconnect in race relations between Black and Latine people. There are probably tons of reasons why.
What the hell is Latine? Latine almost sounds like a ghetto Black name. Like you just pull up to a chick at the bar, you know, how you doing? What's your name? Oh, my name Latine. What the hell? What is Latine? Who's Latine? Do we have any Latine people in the house, y'all? Do we have any people of Latine descent in the house, y'all? Put a one in the chat. Put a taco in the chat if you are of Latine descent.
A disconnect in race relations between Black and Latine people. There are probably tons of reasons why that is. I have my own theories about it, but what I've been seeing a lot today from Black and Latine voters in New York was them talking about how, like, they don't love that when you're seeing all of these DSA parties celebrating the wins from last night, the audiences look pretty homogenous and it doesn't include them. I've seen a variety of posts saying like DSA is not a white organization. It is not only for transplants in New York. So it feels like these are the kinds of people that you guys wanted to pander to. And even though some of those Black and Latine people voted for those DSA candidates, they still felt like the messaging was very blanket and it wasn't very specific to the populations that created New York. And that is what I think that I was not fully addressing in the California primary.
Right. The Democrats as a group, and especially when you get away from the East Coast in general, because almost all of Black America lives east of the Mississippi River. You know, not counting, let's take, I don't know where Chicago and St. Louis fall literally on that, but that's generally near the Mississippi still, right? But pretty much all of Black America lives near or east of the Mississippi River. And once you get further out west, there's very little Black America to speak of, as I understand it. And the politics and all that are just going to be just different. And what they're finding out is even under, you know, the Democrats and even doubling down under the Democratic Socialists, being Black just doesn't really carry the weight that it used to.
There are a lot of Black voters in California who feel like because of the demographics here, Latine, white, and even Asian voters are prioritized above them. And from a numbers standpoint, that actually checks out. If I'm running for office, I'm going to cater to the biggest populations so that I can get a high enough percentage to actually win. And so sometimes that does mean that the minority groups get pushed to the back. But again, I'm familiar with the demographics of a place like New York City, and it's a lot more integrated. And I think that there are more similarities between what Black and Latine voters might need over there than there are over here. It basically just reminded me of my own issues with the Bernie bros and a lot of people's issues with Bernie Sanders as a candidate anytime that he ran for president, because it felt like he was trying to say, I'm addressing everybody's issues by talking about things like affordability and healthcare. But other people were saying, yeah, but you're neglecting what women need. You're neglecting what people of color need. And in saying that we will benefit from all of these policies, you are forgetting how some of these policies might negatively impact us if you don't consider us from the start. That is why somebody like Bernie Sanders or even just his supporters might.
And that is the key, right? You want to be mentioned by name specifically. And this is where the Black vote is becoming isolated from everybody politically. Because the Republicans in general are just not interested in a Black this, Black that type of thing, right? Unless it's Black crime. Unless we're talking about locking your Black ass up, the Republicans aren't really that interested in anything that's like Black particular, you know? They're not really trying to get all, you know, Black focused unless we're putting cops in neighborhoods, unless we're going to bring back nightclubs and Billy clubs and all that shit. You know, I remember they used to call them nigga sticks back in the day. Unless we're bringing back the nigga sticks, I don't think the Republicans really want to do anything that's really Black interest, Black specific. And the Democrats have had a lock on the Black vote for a while because the Democrats at least gave the illusion that you could be broadly, like you could be Black specific. But what they're finding out is that, one, for a lot of reasons, the Black vote is just kind of flat. It's not a growing vote. It's technically shrinking. Like if everybody else around you is growing and you're just staying at that, you know, base level, then you might as well be moving backwards, right? And that's kind of what's been going on with the Black vote. The Black vote has been shrinking, relatively speaking, compared to other votes. And the Black vote just doesn't carry the weight that it used to. So now, ideologically and legally, it's really difficult to be Black specific under, you know, any framework in America. And then now the socialists are coming along. They're like, listen, everybody's red over here. We don't want to hear this Black shit too much. And now the Black vote is kind of like, well, I think you niggas are racist.
I get a reputation of being misogynistic, of being racist, of just not understanding intersectionality and how that works when you're trying to create policies for a diverse population. And also a bunch of people incorrectly assumed that just because I wanted to advocate.
Yes, Ms. Cantrell. Deletion dilutes the vote. All right. If you are not producing more voters at the base vaginal level, all right, because I don't know if you understand this, but voters come from vaginas. Yeah, it's true. It's true. You'll never hear that at a Democrat rally. The Democrat socialists, they're years and years away from forcing women to actually breed again. So, you know, even the Democrats aren't ready for this. You know, the socialists aren't ready for this either. But the reality is that voters come from vaginas. And the Democrats have kind of disconnected those two ideas temporarily. And now there aren't enough Black voters coming from Black vaginas to maintain the Black voting dominance that we need. It's horrible.
for some more progressive policy ideas and more progressive politicians that I identified as DSA. I don't. I can still vote for a DSA candidate even if I don't consider myself to be a member of that party. Ultimately, I'm just curious, if you are in New York, what are your thoughts about the election? I've heard a lot of people say, like, yeah, I do like this candidate. I do like all the things they're saying, but we're going to see, how it actually shakes out. And then I've heard a lot of other people saying, I did not necessarily like the candidate, but they were better than the other guy. And if you're in California, what are the things that you think have not necessarily been addressed yet in the California governor's race and the LA mayor's race that do?
Oh man, listen, it's bad out there. It's not just California. There's just a lot happening right now.
I time to time casually peruse threads, and as you can imagine, over the last 24 hours, given what has happened in New York City, there has been a lot of liberal Democrats who are specifically calling out anti-Blackness within DSA. And I think this is an incredibly valid critique. I think it is something that a lot of Black people, especially a lot of Black people who hold left-wing politics, have engaged with, have tried to fight against, have acknowledged, and have called out in these spaces. It's not just DSA. But what I think is very interesting is that, like, we're talking like this is coming from people who actively support a party who had a ended up being a president, state that you're not Black if you don't vote for him, and he's fucking white. But anti-Blackness is something that somehow is so prevalent within DSA, but you're willing to disregard within the Democratic Party. Very fucking interesting. But I say all of this to say that anti-Blackness is incredibly prevalent. Anti-Blackness is at the core of the American political system. It is quite literally how this nation built itself. It is a disgusting part of this nation, and it is something that we should all be actively dismantling.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna connect some dots, and I'm not the first. I'm by no means the first, but I'm gonna just make it obvious what I'm thinking right now. Socialism makes you ugly. Like liberalism in general has kind of turned into an attack on beauty and whatnot. Like once upon a time, liberals used to kind of believe in beautiful things, believe in nature and all that. And then now we kind of realize that maybe they didn't believe in nature in the same way. They believed in it conceptually as a weapon they could use against people, but they didn't believe in nature as like, an expression of God or something like that. So it's gotten to the point where we have this whole culture of like urbanized liberal males and females for that matter, but this whole liberal culture where we tell people to go touch grass, right? Touching grass is almost never a thing that you can accuse right-wing people of not doing. Right-wing culture is grass touching culture, but there's something about liberalism and then its extreme, its extreme endpoint, I guess, which would be socialism. The lack of like not touching grass and all the culture that goes along with that, it literally makes you ugly. It feminizes the men and it masculinizes and debeautifies the women. And it makes you ugly over time. It's something just about the economy, the ecology, the physiology of socialism. It literally attacks the body in a way that destroys whatever beauty was already there. And it's hard to not notice after a while. There's just something like almost intentional ugly. Like that's really what it is. Like it's an intentional ugly. Like even in nature, like even predators, even animals that like regularly do the most vicious things, to one another, they have a kind of majesty to them. Lions and tigers and bears and all that. There is a kind of beauty even in their base savagery, right? There's a majesty to something like a you know, a predator in nature, which, you know, again, these are the creatures that do the most horrible, horrific things to one another and other animals, right? But they, even in that, they have a kind of just a natural majesty, a beauty, something about it that's, you know, something that, you know, it puts you in reverence in a type of way. Whereas like you look at a lot of the people who have adopted leftism and socialism and whatnot, and it's quite literally the opposite of a natural majesty. Which, and oddly enough, this is one of the reasons why a thing like fascism becomes such an ugly, such a visceral enemy, because it is really like shining a light on the ugly, right? Something about that entire fascist image, even within the confines of Black America, right? So let's not even jump immediately to like the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, the whole German Nordic Ubermensch type thing, right? Because that's the automatic, you know, thing. But even within the context of Black America, I think this is one of the reasons why there's been this gradual push away from what we call like respectability politics, right? And even Black America can't shy from that whole Ubermensch thing, honestly, because there's the whole, you know, European beauty standard thing that's going on. There's something happening on a very base, almost cellular level within socialism and leftism that is just, it's like generating ugly intentionally, and it's now making an enemy of what it perceives, of what most people would perceive to be the beautiful. So Black people within their own right, you kind of get pulled down to a really ugly base level. You're not supposed to aspire to greater things, because the greater things that you aspire to automatically pushes you closer to whiteness and whatnot. It's very dark when you start to really pull the threads back psychologically.
And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that voting for somebody within DSA, within this capitalist system, is going to somehow do that work. But what I will say is to, for once, have people in office who are actively and emphatically stating things like, fuck Zionism, I'm anti-capitalist, this is a violent system, I do not take money from these evil corporations or lobbyists, that's fucking refreshing. And I feel like it is very interesting, again, for a group of people who continues to acknowledge, call voting harm reduction, to call it harm reduction and see the most harm reduction of the options presented to you that isn't just some blue bleeding heart Democrat, and be upset at that is very interesting. It's giving, I want fascism and I want it in blue. I also think it's very interesting that a political party like the Democrats, because I feel like this doesn't even need to be stated, but we all know that the Republicans are a bunch of fucking raging racists. It's not even in a debate or a topic or whatever, but to fail to see how many Democratic lawmakers actively support corporations and lobbying groups and entities that actively go against progress for Black communities and not see that as anti-Black is very interesting. I say all of this to say, ultimately, I don't believe that voting for DSA members is going to get us the future that we want to see, the liberation that we want to see. I believe that the system has to be dismantled for those things to occur. But what I will say is, for once, to have candidates that are actively saying things like, I will not support these violent entities, I will not support Zionism, I will not support these evil corporations, I am actively supporting the people, and you push against that, is very telling of where American politics lies and how people are deeply indoctrinated by this system. But I say all this to say, and shameless plug, if you live in Austin, Texas, if you live in District 1, Misael Ramos is a man who's running for Austin City Council District 1 who was just endorsed by Austin DSA. I'm going to be tagging down his...
Misael Ramos. I don't know who came up with the whole Star Wars name meme thing, but that shit was spot on. We're overrun by people with Star Wars names. And now let's get to your boy Van. Misa Jar Jar Binks. Like, word up, girl. We really are being run over by a bunch of Star Wars characters, man. This shit is irking me when I start thinking about it. But anyway, I wanna move on to your man Van Jones, right? Now, heads up. He was not crying again. That's not why Van Jones is in the news, because we almost only talk about Van Jones when he starts crying. I think it's really strange too to be like a black man in the media, almost only known for crying in public. And then, I was just talking about this with somebody earlier. Van Jones, no, it was Barack Obama. Then it was Van Jones, and then Ryan Clark was crying yesterday on camera because he got fired. And now we really do have this trend of black men, of niggas crying in public. It's disgusting. It really is.
I am tired of a set of people on the very far left in the Democratic Party, my party, telling us that in order for us to be progressives, we now have to believe ideas and support ideas that are completely nuts. I am a progressive Democrat. In other words, everything that's good in our party, I believe in, have believed in for a long time. Do I want universal health care, Medicare for all, whatever you want to call it? Absolutely. If you are sick, you should be able to go see a doctor. That's a good idea. I want free education for everybody as long as they want to keep learning. I think that's a good idea. The Green New Deal, I'm the author of the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is my phrase from my first book in 2008. There's nobody more committed to criminal justice reform than me, ecological solutions, the whole deal. These are our ideals as progressives. We should fight for them. We need them now more than ever. But what does that have to do with supporting Hamas? What does it have to do with putting up candidates who say we should have no police, no prisons, we can't deport anybody, even if they commit rape or murder, Israel shouldn't exist? These are terrible ideas. These are awful ideas. Where did these ideas even come from? If we want people to join this party, when people come to the party, you want to give them a wonderful punch bowl of wonderful ideas like this. Who is putting the poop in the punch bowl? Bruh. Why are these ideas in our punch bowl? These are regressive ideas. How do you know? Look at the ideas on this side. If you lived in a world where everybody could see a doctor when they got sick, if they didn't have a penny in their pocket.
I mean, for real, can we can you stop pooping in the punch bowl? Oh man, the Democrats are funny people when you try. When you really try, they every now and then they do something funny. When they try. Can you not poop in the punch bowl?
If everybody could get an education as far as their learning and desire could take them, if everybody had clean air and clean water, if you didn't have ICE running around hurting people for no reason, would that be a good world or a bad world? It'd be a great world. We need to progress toward that world. That's called progress. That's called progressive. Now, if you lived in a world where there were no police and no prisons, so that in your neighborhood, any gang member, terrorist, pedophile, Klan member could do whatever they wanted to, is that progress or regress? If you lived in a world where we said, well, you can be a terrorist if you want to, as long as you feel oppressed, and anybody can get blown up at any time and people will make excuses for it, is that a better world? Is that progress, or is that regressing to?
Yeah, you guys remember a couple of months ago, the liberals were protesting in New York, and that one Muslim kid, he like started throwing homemade grenades around. I don't think anything exploded, but it definitely happened. You guys remember that? A lot of things happen, and it just goes down the memory hole. Deep memory hole.
A lawless, chaotic state. If we lived in a world where people could literally get elected to office with the only qualification being that they went and celebrated a mass murder of Israelis, if all elected officials celebrated mass murders, is that a better world or a worse world? These are not progressive ideas. These are regressive ideas. And I'm old enough to know the difference. And you're smart enough to know the difference. Ideas that make the world better, that help us progress to a better place. Those are the ideals of the Democratic Party. If you were not born rich, lucky, or famous, you need the Democratic Party. That's what we're for. That's what we're about. Ideas that are literally insane, nutty, moronic, dangerous, bigoted are not progressive. They're regressive, and they should not be in our party. The people who are promoting these nutty, crazy, backwards ideas are party poopers. Literally, they're coming to the party and pooping in our punch bowl. And
they're pooping in the punch bowl, y'all. God damn it. God damn it. These Democrats are pooping in the punch bowl. Why are the Democrats always obsessed with fecal matter? They always doing some boo-boo shit. But anyway, Van Jones is he's trying, all right? He's trying to bring everybody back from the brink of insanity and communist starvation and whatnot. But, you know, you can't save people. They don't want to be saved.
A Fox News host went after one of CNN's own tonight, and Van Jones was going viral, in part because of a post that he made over the weekend. It struck a nerve with both the right and the left, right? We showed you Fox, but on the left, well, there was a lot of response to this too. So let me read in part what Van wrote. He wrote, "I'm tired of being told that to be a progressive, I now must swear allegiance to crazy ideas. I'm a strong Democrat with a winning bipartisan track record. I'm rooted in progressive ideals and policies, criminal justice reform, Green New Deal, Medicare for all, free education, clean air and water. Those are ideas I fought for my entire life. But some people in groups like the DSA are pushing an agenda far outside those ideals.
Hey, shout out to Messi Michonne in the chat. Good to see you here. You have no idea how awful it's about to get for the Black Democrats. Just be warned, Miss Michonne. I'm telling you, it's about to get crazy. You're going to be talking about this coming up. I just know it because it's going to be like a knife fight in the streets. It's going to be a bloody Democrat civil war. We got to cover what happened with James Talrico and Jasmine Crockett down in Texas, because everybody knows by now Talrico beat Jasmine Crockett, and she's pretty much politically like she ain't got no home no more. She about to not have a job, and all of her Texas voters are mad, mostly a bunch of Black women, and they're gonna actually revolt. They're in the process of revolting right now. It's about to be a whole Black female revolution politically happening. I can't wait, y'all. I can't wait.
No police, no prisons, no borders is not progressive. Celebrating the murder of Israeli civilians is not progressive. These ideas are, Van's all caps, regressive. And Van Jones is now out front along with Gretchen Carlson. So, Van, your post struck a nerve, right? We saw it strike a nerve on Fox News. I saw it strike a nerve among many on the left.
Yes.
Okay. For whom some of those things you mentioned have become passionate rallying calls, right?
Yeah.
But you knew it was gonna. You didn't, Van Jones doesn't walk into a moment like this being like, "Oh, I don't think this is gonna have a splash."
Okay, let me go like this.
Oh, why?
To you.
Why do you say?
Because this was necessary.
Thank you.
This was especially from your voice. Now I'm going to let you.
They need a Black guy. We needed a big bald-headed Black guy to say something really, really strong. We need a strong Black man to tell everybody to stop and calm down. Shout out to my man Jesse Lee with the $5 coffee donation. Click the link in the chat if you want to support the show. Hit me up. You can buy me a coffee of any size over on buymeacoffee.com. Shout out to Jesse Lee with the $5 donation. He says, great topic. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to everybody who's pulling up today.
Give me the money. Give me the money for all that I would do. Give me the money.
Respond first because this is about you, and then I can pick up.
Well, listen, I cannot tell you, this phone has been blowing up all day. Governors from both parties, senators from both parties, Democrats in the House calling, thanking me for saying what everybody's been saying behind the scenes, which is that this stuff is going too far. I am a progressive Democrat. You want to talk about prison reform? I've done it as well as anybody, Republican Democrats in the South with Trump. I've done prison reform. I never said have no prisons. Where are you going to put the Klan? I've done police reform. I never said no police. Where are you going to put the pedophiles? Who's going to grab the pedophiles? This stuff is going too far. And part of the thing that has to happen is we saw what happened in the Republican Party when things started going in a nutty direction and nobody stood up. I am happy that the young people are fighting for affordability, Medicare for all the good things. I've been waiting my whole life to see a youth movement do what it's doing, but it's being hijacked by people who are putting in nutty ideas, supporting terrorists.
You know what's a nutty idea though? And this is why this is why Black folk are equally culpable. You know, perhaps for different reasons. You know, Black folk are generally not, you know, the extreme retarded communist or whatever. But at the same time, Black people believe in a lot of retarded stuff too. Like the police are just out here hunting Black people down in the street. You know, the idea that everybody's going to get a check from the government, all you niggas is basically waiting for a winning lottery ticket. Like that's basically what reparations represents for a lot of the Black voters out there. The idea that one day the government's just going to give all you niggas a winning lottery ticket as an apology for slavery. And so don't just accuse the open socialist of having crazy cuckoo ideas and selling people a fantasy. You know, the whole Black political left is one big fantasy, bro.
Nutty ideas saying that we don't need cops in prison. We can't deport anybody even if they rape somebody. Who said this? Chevalier. Where did Chevalier?
Chevalier is going to be is yes. The Democratic nominee. So sorry, DSA nominee for Congress now from the Bronx in New York.
I just want to say that there was a shockwave through this party when Mamdani, who everybody's excited about, stabbed in the back Espiat, who was the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, beloved by everybody, who backed Mamdani. Mamdani said, "I will back you." Then he turns around, stabs him in the back.
Chevalier.
And back Chevalier, who has no credentials except she's known for having celebrated October 7th murders of Israelis on October 8th and never apologized. This sent a shockwave through the party. People said, hold on a second. Why, of all the people in New York City, would Mamdani pick this person to betray someone? And then,
you know what kills me right now about this moment in current politics, and obviously you're going to forgive me for not getting all deep into it, but both the far left and the far right are really kind of they refuse to shake hands over it, but they really have an equal hatred for that country in the Middle East. You know, the whole October 7th thing and all that. The far right and the far left are both like sharing in the alleged anti-Semitism right now, but they refuse to actually talk to each other about it. That's what's really, really fascinating about it to me. The far left and the far right are both like enemies sharing anti-Semitism together. It's funny as hell, but you know, we're not going to go there.
No one says anything. Everybody's
okay,
quiet.
So Gretchen,
I'm not afraid to talk about it.
But this is why it's so important for him to say it.
Now that seat, though, let's take the example that you gave. Okay, that specific seat that we're talking about is a Democratic seat. So you can put someone as far left as you want or moderate as you want. A Democrat's going to win. So I guess what I'm saying, Gretchen, is does this affect the midterms when you're looking at seats that are not like that?
Yeah.
Seats that are purple where your nominee is not somebody who said the things that Van just said.
No, because look at the movement that's been created. It's what the media is talking about. And it's not just in New York. We're talking about Michigan now. We're talking about Colorado. We're talking about a bunch of other states where this movement is going on. And I think it was so important that Van Jones said this, because quite honestly, you were thought of as way over on the left.
I am.
I know. I know.
I'm just not crazy.
And so it's very important for him, in my mind, to point out that this is a very dangerous, slippery slope. And from an independent point of view, where the majority of Americans are sitting, they're scared to death of this movement. They're not going to vote for it. And by the way, I've talked to a lot of Democrats over the last couple of weeks. They are begging people to get out in the primaries. for the regular Democrat to vote.
Okay, but where do people like AOC, who is being talked about now frequently in presidential circles,
But
who is
hold on a minute. What's a regular Democrat at this point, right? What's the mainstream regular Democrat believe in? You know, along with like universal health care and I don't know, free child care for baby mamas or whatever. You know what they also believe in? Full and complete transgenderism, you know, from birth, right? They effectively believe in transgenderism from birth, right? Because I promise you, if one of these crazy Democrat people come up with some new idea to how to make a trans baby, the Democrats are not going to back away from trans babies. The Democrats believe in abortion up until like 11th month. You can get this thing chopped up until you're like 4th trimester. They don't care. Trans babies and 10-month deletions, they really don't have a limit on what they believe in as their quote mainstream Democrat platform. And so the idea that we're gonna now get to like, you know, a baseline, normal, responsible Democrat, I don't know how that works. I don't know how you get into being a normal baseline Democrat anything. Like they don't even believe in borders. Like the idea that you should actually stop everybody from just like walking into your country. Make everybody stand in line, even if the line stretches all the way down through Mexico. Make them all wait in line because that's how it's done. If you do it any other way than that, you've now committed a crime and you're going to go to jail, and then we're going to put you in a catapult and launch you back across the border. Democrats don't really have any like baseline concepts anymore, and they can't actually go back to normal. Like you remember, most of us are old enough to remember Bill Clinton in the 90s when he didn't believe in all these radical things. Like I think the Democrats really stopped being normal in the 90s. If I had to put a time on it, I'm thinking about like the Biden crime speech. You guys remember how vigorously anti-nigga Joe Biden used to be back in the day? Joe Biden was like, I don't care if that nigga mama's a crackhead. I don't care if that nigga daddy used to beat on him. If he beats my little sister up, I want you to whip his ass. Like Joe Biden back then was on some shit. He was damn near a gangster back then. The Biden crime bill speech, it was like the, you know, the last hurrah of the proud white man. And now Joe Biden is on some, you know, I believe trans niggas are just as good as real niggas. I'm like, wait a minute, Joe. What happened? What happened, Joe? A lot has changed over the years, but the Democrats really, it's like they stopped being normal way back in the 90s. And I don't think they can ever find their way back. I don't think the Democrats are capable of finding their way back, because anything that reeks of normal anymore is too close to like white fascist, right? Well, anything white is fascist or whatever. So just say white, right? Anything that's too close to normal is too close to white, which is too close to fascist, which is bad. Therefore, you niggas have to be like, you know, trans something. It's awful, but either way, all the normal things are white coded, and basically you can't do it.
In it nigga who had the slightest inclination to vote for Mondami. There's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. You sick. Mondami had a celebration down in City Hall of all the immigrants, all the Muslims, all the immigrants down there. No niggas. Here's a man.
No niggas. I just love the blatant truth of it.
What's wrong with you? You sick. Mandami had a celebration down in City Hall of all the immigrants, all the Muslims, all the immigrants down there. No niggas.
The Democrats are really getting to a point, and it's just going to become open de facto truth. They do not actually rely on the black vote anymore. It's going to be nice to have. It'll definitely make things a lock knowing that they have the black vote. But as just a matter of political reality, and especially in like these big northeastern enclave type cities, New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Baltimore, the black vote is going to start to actually get squeezed out by a lot of immigration. And a lot of that immigration is going to be left-leaning, far left even, but it won't necessarily be black.
Here's a man that hates the Constitution and that which makes us Americans. He's a Muslim, for crying out loud. He's a jihadist at core. His wife is a lesbo jihadist, Hamas supporter, Intifada believer. Here you nigga talking about Mondami gonna give us a free bus ride. Hell, it doesn't matter if they're handing out free sandwiches in hell, I ain't going. Nigga, are you crazy? You get a free bus ride. Don't get a free bus. Get your ass a job. Get a job, nigga. Go to work. Free bus ride. I always want something free. Well, he's our boy. All you gotta say to get a nigga is say, we got free food. And that nigga talking, we got free grocery stores. You should have seen the niggas jumping up and down. Won't work, don't got a job, can't hold a job, ain't got no money, don't have no security. But Mondami gonna give us a free food. Damn! I don't need you to give me no free food. I buy my own. There's something wrong with black folks. This got Moses in trouble. You think I shopped him? Sell out.
Oh yeah. I can't wait for the fighting to start. It's almost here.
I do think the black community feels under siege right now.
No doubt.
They're the CBC. I've been talking about this forever. Is a force of nature that is staring not at the abyss, but at a new world where it's a smaller percentage of the caucus. The older members are now facing threats from socialists. They're being redistricted out across the South in these super safe seats. And it's, again, to be blunt, it's big business, right? There's so much money at stake from the government, lobbyists, everything, that if you lose power, that's it. And the Latino community says, hey, you want to win Nevada? You want to win Texas? You got to start winning us back.
Okay, I get that they're feeling under siege. But basically what they're suggesting here, and they're not using the word racist, but they're suggesting that if you go with another state, that basically is racist. I mean, if you keep saying that, it waters down when you say it. Like these are their other
No shit. You've been calling everybody and everything racist for like 20 years now. For 20 years or more, the Democrats have stood by and supported black people as we have described everything as racist. You know, there was a game we used to play where you would pick a thing. I would ask the audience to name a thing, and I would go type in that thing plus racism and see if I could pull up an article connecting that random thing to racist. And so if you type in like toothpaste and you type toothpaste racism in Google, you'll pull up an article about like the racist history of toothpaste. You know, if you type in I don't know, water, you'll really be like, you know, how black people have always been banned from swimming next to white people, right? They're like, black folk have literally made a kind of cottage like a cottage industry of racism, where we found a way to define everything. Like nature, going on a hike is racist, right? Kayaking is racist. That one that one Nordic cruise line, was it Norwegian Cruises? They're probably the most racist because I've never seen a nigga on the Norwegian cruise line. All of them niggas get on Carnival. You know what I mean? Everything is racist though. They make everything racist basically because the Democrats have empowered Black people to call everything racist in order for the Democrats to gain and maintain some kind of like social and political dominance. And now your monster, your Frankenstein, your Gollum is turning on you, and it's terrorizing your nice little Democrat village. And you also got the socialists threatening to take over and make everybody starve to death.
Got to start winning us back.
Okay, I get that they're feeling under siege. But basically what they're suggesting here, and they're not using the word racist, but they're suggesting that if you go with another state, that basically is racist. I mean, if you keep saying that, it waters down when you say it. Like these are their other Democrats. It's Sean,
Well,
I've never seen anything like this on the Republican side. That's
Oh,
in terms
that's
of these
not
guys.
true. Oh.
Well, not from the. We don't play the race card the way they do.
Yeah, the Republicans, they don't play the race card that way. I mean, maybe they'll play it in a different way, but not that way. The Republican race card is like, why are you always talking about white people like that? The Republican race card is just really, really white. It doesn't even have like a queen or a king or a joker. It has no designs on the back. It's literally just a white card. It's like one of those cards the soccer refs hand you. It's literally just one white card. There's no words on it. There's no picture on it. It's just literally a blank white card.
Oh, yeah. So we're here with Angie Smith, and you're from Farmington.
Hi, I'm Angie Smith. I'm from Farmington Public Schools. Top vote getter for Farmington Public School Board. Been on the board 11 years. I am supporting Haley Stevens because she's that candidate. We need someone that can represent all of us, not just one race, but all races. Haley has done great work in Farmington and in Farmington Hills. She knows what she's doing. And anytime you can go to a Democratic convention and be booed and walk from behind a podium and stand there while you're being booed and things thrown at you, that's our person. So let's vote August 4th for Haley Stevens. Thank you.
Thank you. When you say, not just for one, what do you mean by that?
Well,
you feel the other candidate is...
The other candidate seems to be he doesn't work a room. You have to know how to work the room. Don't come out speaking only Arabic. Don't come out with your Arabic music on. Represent everyone. My DNA is my DNI. Well, my DI. I'm a mother of a lesbian. I'm Puerto Rican and Cherokee with a grandfather that was a white man from Ireland.
All these competing identities are just getting crushed right now. I don't think Black folk realized this identity thing was going to be a trap with the Democrats, because the Democrats have always been a socialist movement in one way or another, because that's where all the socialist-minded politicians wind up, in some level of the Democrat machine. And over time, your identity will just become, this forgotten past. Everything gets crushed under the red machine.
Represent us all. Don't just represent one ethnicity and one race.
I'm going to read something to you, and I'm going to tell you why this is typical. A progressive House candidate who served in a battleground district in Michigan as law Democratic Party officials once said black U.S. political leaders are a pillar of the capitalist and imperialist American establishment. Yeah, Jim Clyburn is part of that. Yeah, you're right. That's exactly who Martin Luther King was. Yeah, you're right. That's who John Lewis was. And these people are paternalistic, and it's a bunch of overeducated little white turds who think they know more.
Bunch of overeducated little white turds. You know, I still do like James Carville, not politically, just as a person. This old white Cajun, he's probably a veteran or some shit like that. Too Democrat for me, but still, I just like that he's been trying to save them from themselves for a while now. You know, been calling out this anti-masculinity. Now he's trying to point out that the socialists calling the black Democrats fascists somehow just don't work.
Going to stop this. Yeah, Jim Clyburn is part of that. Yeah, you're right. That's exactly who Martin Luther King was. Yeah, you're right. That's who John Lewis was. And these people are paternalistic, and it's a bunch of overeducated little white turds who think they know more than other people know, and they know what's wrong. And they're going to go and then you got, they're talking about indicting Netanyahu. And that the problem is you have a candidate, a DSA candidate in New York saying we should be against interracial dating. Let me tell you something. These people, and these are to all my black friends and people like me, they think they know more than you do. They think their history is more glorious than yours. They think that Lenin was a more glorious human being than Martin Luther King or Frederick Douglass. That's what they really think. And if you know that, you don't know your history. And you should view these people with extreme skepticism, because they think they know what's better for you than you know what's better for you. And they think they know your history better than you know their history. This asshole don't know what he's talking about.
Oh yeah. A lot of heated, passionate moments happening over on left-wing media lately.
Talk about it.
Point to
because you're pretending
support terrorist groups.
Right, you're pretending like far-right people don't exist in the same podcast space.
I'm
Nick
pretending
Fuentes,
far-right-
who said your body, my choice. Nick Fuentes, who's anti-LGBTQ. Nick Fuentes, who's anti-black. Nick Fuentes, who's anti-Jewish. Like, what do you mean? These are people that exist and have big platforms in the far-right space.
Nick
I believe
Fuentes
that
is
one
not
of the
welcome and is not going to be embraced by any Republican figure, period. You're aligning over a lot of differences and distinctions and people fighting amongst each other or fighting with Nick Fuentes or fighting with Tucker Carlson. They're not fighting with Kyle Kalinske there. No one's going to speak up on that thing and say, excuse me, you just evinced support for terrorism. And
if you
that's
show
wrong
me
and
the
that's
clip
bad for
where
our party.
Daria Lisa Avila
They're
Samani
nodding
was
in
sitting there,
agreement because they agree
if you
with
show
it.
me the clip where
That's
she's
right,
saying,
Robbie.
yes, I agree
You
with
tell
you.
that goofy black bitch, Robbie. Want to hear this shit from this goofy leftist black bitch? Tell that black bitch shut the fuck up.
Speak up on that thing and say, excuse me, you just evinced support for terrorism. And
If you
that's
show
wrong
me
and
the
that's
clip
bad for
where
our party.
Daria Lisa Avila
They're
Samani
nodding
was
in
sitting there,
agreement because they agree
if you
with
show
it.
me the clip where she's saying, yes, I agree with you, then we can have a conversation about it. If you show me him saying something on his lonely, by himself, talking directly to the camera, and then saying people joined later or around that conversation and saying they agree with it is not the same thing.
You're being, I support the terrorist group.
But he's a
So does the
podcaster.
the other people on the
Nick
street
Fuentes
nodding
says,
along.
I hate people that are gay and I hate
But
black people.
I'm not.
Nick Fuentes also said he's going to vote Democrat, though. Like, how do you square that? Nick Fuentes is running so far away from Trump and everything MAGA related that he's basically like, you know what? I might as well vote for a Democrat. Like, that's really, really what's happening over there. How do you square that one, Keisha?
Okay, so that
any responsibility for
exactly.
Nick
So then
Fuentes.
they shouldn't have to take responsibility for a podcaster. These are elected officials that are not saying those things. That's what I'm telling you. So if no one is taking responsibility for Nick Fuentes, even though his voice was propelled in the movement, if no one is taking any responsibility for a commentator,
If Nick Fuentes
Hanania, who made
was
up
on a stream with a bunch of
this guy was part of the
Republican
government.
candidates,
Richard Hanania
then
made up
you bet the mainstream media would be
racist made
Richard
up.
Hanania is.
I think I have a clip of that stream that Robbie's complaining about with all of the Democrats. They're like on this live stream with a bunch of well, it's really with Kyle Kalinske, I think. And Kyle Kalinske is like this extreme liberal guy, and he was just talking crazy. He was saying a lot of stuff, America's the terrorist, and we need to support Hezbollah and Hamas and all. He was just talking a bunch of really, really extra shit. But the problem is he was on a live stream with a bunch of like upcoming Democrat politicians and maybe a couple of sitting politicians as well. I forget exactly who was there, but let me show you.
The U.S. government and the Israeli government, they're in the midst of creating the Fourth Reich. And it is absolutely accurate to compare these people to Mussolini, to Adolf Hitler.
You don't even know. Like, we wish Trump was Mussolini. Like, that's really the joke in right-wing circles. We wish Trump was the Trump that the liberals call him. We wish he was El Duque. Do you understand how much we could have gotten done if Trump was El Duque? We'd have been having transgender rooftop parties just like the Muslims, all right? If Trump was El Duque, we would have gotten rid of a lot of things. There would only be old retired veterans and their wives reading the children at story hour. If Trump was El Duque, the only people allowed to read to children would be old women and old men who fought in wars. That's it. No more of this transgender story hour stuff. The immigration rate would be like -20. We would be deporting people so aggressively, we would actually start to miss them. We'd be like, damn, you know what I haven't had in a while? A good taco. When was the last time anybody in America actually said that, by the way? It should not be easy to find a good taco in the Midwest. If Trump was El Duque, you would have to drive damn near to California for a good taco, all right? But no, Trump is not El Duque. He's not Adolf Trump. But in their minds, though, that's what they're dealing with. And that's the thing. I was making this joke about, black people living in this fake world where the police are always hunting them and all these white people are secretly a part of some type of, like some type of white brotherhood where they all plot against all the other races together. And I'm like, no, I don't think there's anything like that going on. But niggas believe these things. And the liberals have their own version of that, where like, Trump is he's secretly a Nazi. You know what I mean? Elon Musk wants to bring back the Musk Reich and all these crazy things.
We're governed by dead-eyed psychopaths and sociopaths and bloodthirsty imperialists. The U.S. government and the Israeli government, they are the terrorists. They are the terrorists. They are doing terrorism. If Iran's off the table as a regional power, that means Hezbollah can't be funded, Hamas can't be funded, the Houthis can't be funded, like the Shia Crescent falls, and then you have nothing.
Why do you want to give all these Muslims money, dude? And not even just that they're Muslims. I mean, that's bad enough. We should be giving money to like Christian countries. But why do you want all the terrorist Muslims to have all these monies?
But regional domination for Israel. There's a reason why I call Israel and the U.S. the axis of Epstein, okay? There's a reason why I've said repeatedly that they're in the midst of creating the Fourth Reich, because that sincerely is what...
Now, calling Israel... saying that they're in the midst of creating the Fourth Reich. I mean, on the one hand, there's a troublemaking part of me that really likes where you're going, but I can't explain and connect the dots for you. If you know, but that shit's not going to fly mainstream, right?
They're doing. These are genuinely repulsive, disgusting, wretched, depraved human beings. And it is absolutely accurate to compare these people to the worst criminals in history, to Mussolini, to Adolf Hitler.
This is pretty interesting. A New York City Black Democrat leader is criticizing the Democrat Socialists of America, the DSA, calls that group a bunch of white supremacists. Queens Borough President Donovan Richards comparing New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani's pals in the DSA to white supremacists. So think about that. He breaks this on social media. He says all white supremacy comes in all forms, and targeting this at the DSA.
It's very interesting. The comment originating from an online debate after a report in the New York Times highlighted how the extreme left wing of the Democrat Party focuses on furthering the group's agenda and largely has blinders on when it comes to Black and Latino members and issues important to them in the 5 boroughs. So Richards followed up with that post with another one quoting Malcolm X, comparing white conservatives to white liberals. The quote stating white liberals are more dangerous. So joining us now to discuss, Janelle King is the host of the Janelle King Show, and April Chapman is Project 21 ambassador. Great to have you, ladies. I have to start with you first, April. I mean, what do you make of this assessment that the DSA, they're calling them white supremacists?
It is a joy to see the left demolish and eat itself. At the end of the day, if you examine the policies of the Democratic Socialists of America, none of the policies are geared toward lifting up any group. It's about everybody being at the bottom. So I would ask, on what basis is he saying that the Democratic Socialists of America are racist? Is it because there's no particular policy specific for Black people or specific for women? They keep forgetting that socialism is about the warmth of collectivism. You don't get to be special.
That's my point, isn't it? You don't get to be special. And on the one hand, I think Black people in general need to move away from the idea that your Blackness alone somehow makes you special. Just like you would tell any white person, your whiteness alone does not make you special. I think Black folk kind of need to hear it more. But that's just the truth of it, right? And that being said, it's the Democrat Party itself and the socialists within the Democrat Party who are now about to like steamroll the Blackness right out of you.
In the Democratic Socialist framework. And so the whole entire movement is going to implode on itself. And I'd be interested to see where this conversation leads. I'm just enjoying it from the sideline.
Yeah, well, Janelle, Christian and I were looking at some of the primary results and the parties afterwards, and had commented a couple of times, wow, it's all like middle-aged white women.
Yeah.
I mean, just an observation, but I hadn't really thought about it past that. Do you think that he's tapped into something?
Yeah, I mean, this is not something that is that's unseen or different or not the norm when it comes to the Democrat Party. And I'm always happy to be on the panel with April because I know she gets it just like me. Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is, what they see, particularly white liberal women that are older white liberal women, is that they're dealing with this whole white guilt. They're dealing with the bleeding heart syndrome, and it's all coming from narratives. The fact of the matter is racism and white supremacy and the claim of racism is extremely profitable. And it's easier to compete when you are tilting the playing field a little bit or getting a crutch in order to assist you while everyone else is competing like normal. The fact of the matter is, when you have these threats of racism and when you decide that we're no longer going to push this, we're no longer going to make this the narrative, a lot's going to happen. The ambulance chasers who make money off of chasing down these ambulances are going to go away. Minority contracts that are only given to minorities will go away. Mm-hmm. National funding will cease. So it's profitable and they see it, they're using it, and they're doing it on the backs of minorities.
And see, a lot of the Democrat establishment, and this is really why there is a battle, aside from just, obviously getting shoved out, but what are they fighting over? There's a lot of money in politics. There's just no other way around that concept. And for Black Democrats, pointing out racism, accusing everybody of racism, finding racism wherever they looked, has been a very, very lucrative business move. And now it's gotten to the point where although the Democrats have built an entire political establishment for Black people in order for them to all extract whatever resource they can from accusations of racism. Look how far the Democrats went with George Floyd, right? That is the peak of the Democrats using Black people to apply their racist charge and extract some type of political, social, or economic gain out of it, right? And now that we've basically squeezed Black people dry and we've gotten about as much as we can get from all these weak charges of racism, the Democrats quite shrewdly are now moving on to something that will help them maintain their power. And the Democrat socialists in particular have no problem with like getting over your Blackness, right? The Democrats, as a general rule, have been like too accustomed to like playing along with the whole Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Black boomer racism game. But the Democrat socialists, they really don't give a shit about that.
About Black politics that I think is important for particularly progressives, white or otherwise, who try to understand and ask questions like, why did Black people vote for Joe Biden? I don't understand. The policies that Bernie has are so much better. Black politics is a politics of containment and capture. What does that mean? How does Black politics works? When when the South Carolina primaries are about to happen, Jim Clyburn has the phone number of every Black church pastor in his Rolodex. Every Black membership organization, fraternity, sorority, graduate chapter, and alumni chapter, which in those chapters are the teachers, the principals, and all of the administrative officials of your Black high schools, okay? All of the historically Black colleges and universities, which are going to be in South Carolina, a large number of students, which is going to literally have an ideological role in shaping the politics of thousands of students. What I'm trying to say is that the way in which Clyburn does this is not because Black people will, if you explain the policies to them, will not understand that, oh, this stuff, federal jobs guarantee and universal health care is better for us. It's that the ideological infrastructure is controlled by the Black political class, and they maintain that control by exacting patronage, which I call fatback and biscuits, from the Democratic Party and its corporate acolytes, and handing it out piecemeal to people who are within their constituency through public service types of policies. And that aspect of how Black politics works is what, in order for anyone who's interested in having any kind of left, and I've said this and I'll say it again, you will not have a left in America with effective politics without Black people, because there's never been a left in America with effective politics without Black people. And if you do not do that, Black politics will be used to destroy the left, like it was done in 2016 and 2020. You have to understand and find a way to puncture the ideological superstructure that allows people like Clyburn to basically take large segments of Black voters and dump them into the neoliberal corporate section of the Democratic Party.
Now, I know there was a lot of really hard to understand liberal Democrat terminology in there, but basically you get the gist of it, right? The Black vote is a left-wing vote. And without the Black vote, the left wing is going to struggle. But they don't want to just let the Black vote go. There is definitely, a push to at least try to hold on to the Black vote. The socialists don't want to just totally cancel the Black vote, but it's going to be hard.
In order to combat anti-Blackness and white supremacy in the YDSA, chapters and national must run campaigns which resonate across racial divisions, standardize and improve chapter grievance processes and culture, conduct intentional leadership development of marginalized comrades, build anti-racist education and practice into our standard member development and culture.
YDSA, honestly, we do have the look of being super white, being super male centered, being super paternalistic.
Right, with the risk of the Manhattan Institute guy saying this,
I am a Marxist.
I think the issue is that we have a issue of maintaining abusers, racists, and harassers in our organization, and we are not getting rid of them. Nobody is taking the initiatives to actually have these people exposed.
A strong group of comrades in this organization feel like they have been left behind and are ignored because of these different issues stemming from a predominant notion of whiteness within YDSA.
Having a disdain for a space for us to like accurately, address those things and let out those things. It's what the white man wants from you. And I hate to see comrades that look like me and other people in my slate having that sentiment. So
I've seen how white the organization.
Hey, real briefly, I just noticed this too. Shout out to everybody in the audience, man. Hit the like button, like, share, and subscribe. Big thank you to Messy Michonne with the $10 coffee donation. If you want to be a supporter of the show, there's the Venmo address crawling across the bottom. You can support me on Venmo at The Hood Conservative. You could also buy me a coffee of any size over on buymeacoffee.com. Shout out to Messy Michonne with the $10 donation. She says, fair use in advance. It's not a problem, not a problem. You're welcome to it. No big deal, but I really appreciate the support. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Like, share, and subscribe, y'all.
Hulk! Smash! Smash you! You make Hulk angry! You not like Hulk angry! Hulk no like fighting girls.
Don't forget to smash that like button, y'all.
I'm running for NCC at large with the global majority slate under the commitments of diversifying a disproportionately white YDSA. And that was just a passive percentage of the POC in the room by decentering whiteness in curriculum, education, and communication, action, and more.
The reason why I'm running for NCC at large is because the current direction YDSA is heading towards is not revolution. Not only are there internal contradictions of anti-Blackness within the org that go unaddressed, but our organizing tactics have shown to be limited in their reach and in their scope.
And I have also organized on a local level all the way to a regional level with APRP, BPI, BAP, and many other organizations on the sole fact of the importance of decentering whiteness when it comes to organizing.
I think that one thing that we really need to emphasize is a deeper commitment to intersectionality within YDSA and actually developing marginalized leaders and really pushing past this notion of YDSA being this incredibly, just like a group of like 5 white guys sitting around and reading theory.
So like we run into the issue within YDSA that multiracial is being used more as a buzzword. And I say that because despite our continuous efforts through resolutions, it usually falls short because it is not prioritized. It is just not seen as something important.
Also building coalitions with people of color. A lot of the times people feel alienated and don't want to organize with us because
it's funny. And I'm just never gonna not get over this. I'm just never gonna get over this, I guess. But as much as they accuse the Republicans of being anti-Black and racist and you just doing this because you don't like Black people, you guys within your own, you guys have to have basically an HR meeting. Is this like an HR struggle session? You guys are accusing each other of all this anti-Blackness. I thought only the Republicans were anti-Black. I thought only conservatism was anti-Black. You told me that liberalism and socialism was good for Black people. Here you niggas go fighting the racism in your own house, y'all. You telling everybody is racism over there in the Democrat and the Republican house. You got racism in your house. Why don't you fight all the racism over in the Democratic Socialist Party instead of accusing everybody else of all the racism that you're clearly guilty of? Your own mama said you're racist. Your own friends calling you racist.
a lot of the times people feel alienated and don't want to organize with us because of our white-centered organizational practices and our lack of anti-imperialist sentiment.
Right. You guys are too white. Matter of fact, you niggas are whiter than the Republican Party. That's really the irony, is it, right? The DSA is actually probably whiter than the Republican Party. The Republican Party, you know, we got blacks, we got Mexicans, we got Jews, we got everybody. You got a handful of gay niggas, but we try not to talk to them. We got everything in the Republican Party. But you niggas look whiter than the Republicans. It's crazy work.
Came from the contradictions in YDSA of YDSA not being able to confront its whiteness in practice and racism, and not being able to protect organizers of color within the organization on both a national level and a chapter level.
I hope this is the part that gets clip farmed for that one fucking Twitter.
Stu Smith, if you are listening, please clip
Stu Smith, if
farm.
you're listening, this is Pip.
The irony of a panel of non-blacks arguing who's the realest nigga. That's what basically the Democrats are headed for. It's literally, you know, a bunch of different groups of non-black people trying to be the realest nigga imaginable. That's what it all is. They're fighting for the realest nigga alive.
Stu Smith, please save me, Stu Smith.
Oh man, it's getting crazy over there, y'all. It's getting really crazy over there. Big shout out to American Man with the $20 Venmo donation. He hit me up on Venmo to tell me to buy myself a goddamn coffee. Appreciate you though. Shout out to American Man for supporting the show. It does take a lot of money to keep this thing going, man. Help me keep the lights on, y'all. I gotta pay my phone bill. I gotta pay my internet bill. I gotta pay my black man tax. You know, I got a lot of things to pay for.
It costs a lot of money to bring the real. I got Mercedes-Benz, Rolls Royce, the biggest house on the biggest deal. Yeah, we don't care. You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine like jet flying. Son of a gun, the biggest star of them all. It costs a lot of money to bring the real world champion on location. Only an Arnie and Ricky. We do it better than everybody else. Don't wrap me up. No.
Thanks to Mamdani, democratic socialism is gaining some national attention. On the flip side, it seems like America's support, or certain segment of America's support for capitalism, is declining.
The expectations for millennials in 2026 is that you got to have like 3 income streams, a side hustle, a personal brand.
Just because we critique capitalism doesn't mean we're socialist or communist. It's just capitalism has reached a stage where it's exploitation at this point.
Most Americans are working 2 jobs now. So they're working 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week.
Are you depressed or is it just C-A-P-I-T-A-L-I-S?
That last one is my favorite. A recent Fox News poll showing 50% of voters have a positive view of capitalism, 46% unfavorable. I want to show you the difference between now and 2019, when it was 57% favorable and 28% unfavorable.
We can't be hoodwinked. We can't be taken advantage of by people that say you're going to have a free home. You're going to get free rent. Everything's going to be free. What they don't say is a year later, everything is going to end up in squalor, destruction, and death, and also death for our country. So we have to stop the threat of the communist rhetoric that you're hearing right now.
Yeah, can I just say, having just sat with Mamdani, and I've interviewed AOC before, and these are, of course, the sort of standard bearers of this movement. You know, what they argue is that, you know, this scaremongering of that everything's going to be free and you're going to bankrupt the country. They are talking about taxing the very wealthy to make them pay their fair share, so that more can be given to those who have less.
You're seeing a lot of billionaire tax requests. You're also seeing people talking about taking cut from AI companies. Like there's a sense
and that makes sense to people. People understand that equation that they're making. So the scare tactic of like, everything's going to be free and everything's going to fall apart, it doesn't make sense to them in an economy where you see the very, very rich swanning around and people can't make rent.
I agree. Sorry, I was just going to say, I agree with all of that. But if you
we have to do two things at the same time as Republicans. I'm not talking about Democrats. We have to articulate the evils of communism. It eliminates political dissent, eliminates religious
And
freedom,
we
it
should
kills
say
a lot of
it's
people.
socialists who are running around the country, not communists.
Yeah,
Just
I know, but it's
no, but I
a
want
lot
to
of
say it
people-
out loud because if you say it in passing, it makes it sound like I haven't put all the communists on screen. There aren't any.
But this is another game that the media, and really most of the media is, if it's not openly a conservative news station, it's almost entirely captured by the left at this point. But the media in general wants you to like blur the line between socialism, communism, and Marxism. And really, there is no blurring. There is not much distinction between socialism, Marxism, and communism. Let me clarify the connection between these three triumvirate ideas here, all right? Marxism is the theory, socialism is the application, and communism is the end result. All right? If you think and apply Marxist thoughts to the world at large, to your population at large, eventually you get a lot of people who want to implement socialist theories to solve the problems of Marxism. Once you start to implement socialist theories, you're gonna by default devolve or evolve into full-fledged communism. Why? Well, because as your socialist ideas start to fail, you're going to now have to control more and more of the government and the systems in place to, one, hide the failure, two, to try to solve and address the failure, and three, to stop people from kicking you out of power. And that's how you get your Lenin, your Stalin, your Mao, or your Pol Pot, whatever. Marxism is the theory, socialism is the application, communism is the end result.
There's a good amount of debate on the Democratic side of the aisle in Texas over whether black voters support state lawmaker James Tallarico. Well, we have some interesting numbers. Tallarico is running against Attorney General Ken Paxton in November, but there was a pretty bitter primary race between Tallarico and Dallas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Crockett has since called the primary election racist and says she's going to spend her time this November helping down-ballot candidates and not campaign directly with Tallarico. I was listening to the podcast from the University of Texas's Texas Politics Project, ran by pollsters Jim Henson and Josh Blank, maybe the most consistent pollsters in the state. They looked at their latest poll on a Tallarico-Paxton matchup and compared it to where Beto O'Rourke was in 2018 and where Colin Allred was in 2024, with specifically the state's black voters. And they found Tallarico has more support among black voters right now than both Congressman Allred and Congressman O'Rourke did at this same time in the race. 67% of black voters who answered the poll in June 2026 said they'd vote for Tallarico, 13% for Paxton, 12% said they didn't have an opinion. Now, back in June 2024, 47% of black voters chose Colin Allred, 23% chose Ted Cruz, 22% did not have an opinion yet. And then back in June 2018, 49% of black voters chose Beto O'Rourke, 11% chose Ted Cruz, and 31% did not have an opinion yet. Now, the two takeaways from the pollsters were these two things. One, Tallarico is much better known by everyone at this point in the race. And two, if Tallarico has a problem right now, it's more with black leaders, not exactly black voters. But remember, with all polls, this is just a snapshot in time. The election day is in November. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below, and follow me for more Texas and political updates.
Let's get to your boy, James Tallarico. James. Did you think that kicking a black woman out of her job was going to help you politically, James? Did you not realize the bitterness that you were about to unleash upon yourself? I don't know why, in all of your white male Democrat social wisdom, did you not know this was about to happen to you?
So what if the problem isn't James Talrico, but is instead what he represents and who represents him? Because I was at his event in DeSoto last night, and I think Black people's view of him is still just a representation of another time in which Black people were asked to do labor, but not given the opportunity to lead, and under controversial circumstances at that. And then his advocates, the people who represent him to us, do it in a manner that is not just disrespectful and rude, but candidly annoying. But then you have James, who answered every question. He hit on education.
It was not. And the states that have tried these private school voucher scams, they tend to reject our students with disabilities, our students with special needs, our students with special education. They reject our students with behavior problems. They reject the students who need the most help. They take the students who are the easiest to teach and whose parents can afford the gap between the voucher and one is making sure that we have a campaign team that is reflective of the diversity of the state. I'm proud to say that we are a staff-driven campaign. We have consultants working, hiring particular consultants in the weeks and months ahead. They play an important role. But on too many campaigns, consultants are the drivers. I made a conscious decision at the very beginning that I wanted this campaign to be run by Texans for Texans.
He talked about the investment he is going to make in Black Texas outreach.
Tonight, that we are planning on spending $25 million on Black voter outreach in the campaign, and that is the largest investment in Black voter outreach in the history of Texas politics. And so, where that money is spent, how it's spent, that is still up for discussion.
They clapped like they were going to get some of that $25 million, by the way. Said, I'm going to spend $25 million to talk to you niggas, but you niggas ain't getting none of this money, though.
And we need your feedback. But I want you to know that we are setting aside that money to do that work. We are putting our money where our mouth is.
Talked about the importance of down ballot, which is something that Jasmine Crockett spoke about openly and was attacked for.
We have to invest in our down ballot candidates. And this is something we've got to work with us to do. We don't know about yet, because we got work to do on this. But we have started the work of making sure that we are investing in and supporting those candidates at the bottom of the ballot. Because those candidates at the bottom of the ballot, they're going to help me and Representative Host at the top of it. Because they're the ones who are non-conformers, registering voters, actually speaking to the needs of each particular community. And I remember when I was running for state house how difficult it was to be a down ballot.
He said the right stuff. He talked about not needing to be sensitive to criticism.
As a campaign, we have a race to win. And this work is too important for anyone's ego to get caught up in. This has to be about Texas. This has to be about all of us. And so,
which I think is incredibly important, because his online advocates continue to attack Black people who have the audacity to criticize his campaign. So I think he said the right stuff, but as I said, and I talked to Black people afterwards, I don't think they believed him quite, because we don't know you like that.
Yeah, let's talk about James Talrico's really rough night on the campaign trail the other day. He made an appearance in Texas, and he found out. Well, he found out. Let's just put it that way. James Talrico, he went to talk to Black Texas voters in his district, and he found out.
To engage, do I think that Talrico's refusal thus far to engage Black electeds and the Black infrastructure has put him at a disadvantage? Absolutely, because there's not a lot of time to try to rally us. But We actually had a meeting today, Roland, earlier today, where Black people, Black thought leaders, elected officials from Dallas and Houston met, and we are getting together and we're going to stand together. And hopefully Tallarico and the Texas Democratic Party will see that and they will listen to us, because Tallarico is giving out money to white GOTV organizations and white infrastructure, and Hispanic infrastructure, but he's not giving it to Black infrastructure. And so either they'll listen or they won't. Again, even though I knew I could lose votes, I did it anyway, because sometimes in life you got to pick a side.
You know what? There is really something else I noticed. A lot of Black female politicians are starting to look like evil villains in a comic book. Like, really, you look like you got your henchmen about to poison the water supply of some city in DC, America. You know, if you don't give me $1 million in reparations doubloons, Coastal City's gonna find out.
And I need to know if the Texas Democratic Party is going to pick our side. I did speak with Kendall Scudder, the chair of the Texas Democratic Party, and he told me he would be meeting with me. Again, meetings do nothing if we don't have action into it. But I have already told them, Roland, they need to pay for Black infrastructure. They need to pay for media with you and not just CNN, you know, and other people like you. I've told them that we have people like using hit strategies with Terrence Woodbury, who no one polls Black people better than him. We don't want no white pollsters. They don't know how to poll us. And for the most part, I've told them it takes money to get the vote out, right? Inspiration doesn't get the vote out. So Tallarico needs to pay for us to get our voters out.
You gotta buy these niggas, all right? Like Tallarico, you're in Texas, brother. I don't know why you don't understand. You got to buy these niggas, bro. This is Texas, all right? This is where Juneteenth originated. They was the last niggas to hold out slavery. You're gonna have to buy these niggas, bro. It's tradition. That's just the real deal of it. It's tradition, bro. They kept slaving a lot longer than the rest of the niggas in America because they just, you know, they couldn't be budged. You have to buy these niggas out. I don't know why you don't want to respect the traditions of Texas, man. Texas had no problem buying niggas, and all of a sudden James acted like he don't want to open up his money. Nigga want to come all the way down to Candyland Plantation and don't want to open up his pocketbook. You're gonna have to buy you a nigga, James. I don't know no other way to make it work for you down here in Texas, all right? We do things a particular way down in Texas. Some might call it a peculiar way, but it's the Texas way, all right? And you just gonna have to open up some of that money that you done stole from all these rich white communist donations that you've been getting, and you're gonna have to buy you some Texas niggas, man.
For the most part, I've told them it takes money to get the vote out, right? Inspiration doesn't get the vote out. So Tallarico needs to pay for us to get our voters out. Only then does Tallarico have a chance to win. If he continues to do what he has been doing, I believe Tallarico is going to lose.
Now, that is the question. American Manny said, I don't want to pay you because I'm busy buying taco stands for the people that replaced you. And I'm wondering, the math has been leaning in this direction for a while, but you know, it takes time for the actual, you know, fruition to, you know, really hit. But are we actually at the point now where it's just politically more cost effective to dump money into the Latino vote? And this, you know, it actually cuts across both parties, right? Republicans and Democrats. Because I've been telling Republicans for a while, like chasing the Black vote is like it's diminishing returns when you chase the Black vote. And a lot of these so-called Black conservatives aren't all that conservative. They're just like disaffected Black liberals, really. But Would you be better off chasing chasing the Hispanic vote? Like, in terms of politics, do you get more bang for your buck out of Latino political expenditure? And I think we're hitting a real world application of theory right now. We're going to learn. We're all about to find out.
So we'll see. Tallarico's campaign has not reached out to me, even though the most talked about speech from the Texas Democratic Convention, from what I see on social media and from what I hear, is the speech that I made, because that's the big elephant in the room. Because again, Tallarico and everybody statewide and the Democratic Party has a black problem, whether they acknowledge it or not. And inspiration is not going to get us to the polls.
All you niggas got a black problem, all right? All of you niggas, you got a black problem, and you're gonna have to figure this out. Because black people, especially down there in Texas, they not, you know, a little unhappy. Little bit unhappy, not really feeling Jimmy T down in Texas. They're not feeling him. Especially after they really, really wanted to vote for Jasmine Crockett.
My question would be, are you for or against cross-dressing teachers in schools? I know that you said that you believe that there are 6 genders and Jesus is non-binary. And so in March, I had an ordeal at my kids' elementary school where it's very distracting. And so I wanted to know, will you be supporting those things?
Red Hot Pepper Boy in the chat, he's asking a very personal question here. It's a very intensely personal question. He's asking me, am I a black conservative? No, I am a right-wing fascist who looks like Jamal. I am a right-wing fascist, but I also look like Jamal, all right? Got a cousin named Jamal.
I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault.
Because I don't think in elementary schools that is appropriate.
Yeah, I think if you enjoy cross-dressing, you should probably do that at home, not bring it to work. But I also want to say that there are so many cynical politicians who are using our LGBTQ community to grandstand, to score political points, to demonize and to weaponize. And we've got to be, we all together, all of us, whether we're part of that community or not, we got to attempt to unite people, to resist those efforts to divide us.
My question would be, are you for or...
Sounds like he dodged the question. Notice he didn't give a really hard, a really firm yay or nay about the transgender teacher thing, because his Bible is full of transgender teachers. So, you know, of course he's going to let the teachers be transgender.
This country has given reparations and support the state of Israel since 1960. This is the year that I was born. We've also given reparations to Japanese as well. With the onslaught of police brutality of Black Americans here in America, this has been going on for some time now. Do you support reparations, and would you legislate for an anti-Black crime bill? Thank you.
Do you support reparations, and will you legislate for an anti-Black crime bill?
Restoration, repairing past harms is part of my faith tradition. It's part of the values I was raised with.
What the hell is a faith tradition? What does that even mean, a faith tradition? Like, nigga, name your church. What do you mean a faith tradition? What's that you claim, nigga? You better brace yourself, fool. We G-checking over here. You know what I mean? What's that you claim, Jimmy? This nigga talk about a faith tradition. That's like when you in jail and they ask you who you with, and you just be like, I'm gang affiliated. With who, nigga? What you mean you gang affiliated? What gang are you affiliated with? What faith is your tradition? Said he won't name Jesus. Oh my God.
And it's exactly why we need a lot of the policies we've been talking about here to invest in Black communities, to invest in Black Texans, whether it's tuition relief, whether it's home ownership grants, whether it is baby bonds to ensure that we are helping to build that generational wealth. We have to correct the injustices of our past. I talked about Sand Ranch, Texas. I don't think I mentioned that Sand Ranch is a freedman community. So we are seeing the reverberations of slavery in modern day Texas, all over the place. And until we as a society are committed to righting those past wrongs, of restoring our Black communities, we're never going to be able to get this country back on track. And so we, I think, in this election have a prime opportunity, because not only is this a Senate seat that could determine the Senate majority, but all of you know that if we win Texas with a room that looks like this, that is going to be an earthquake in American politics.
You know, he really did just and this is what makes a politician dangerous. This is why they voted for the Mamdani guy up in New York, because he smiles a lot. He tries to smile with his eyes, that kind of thing. He tries his very, very best to give off non-threatening masculine energy. He won't, instead of being a man with a back broad enough to carry problems, he's got a shoulder big enough to lean on. Right? That's the kind of the image that he gives out to the crowd. That's the energy he gives out to the crowd. And once you start leaning on his shoulder, you don't even really listen to the words he's saying anymore. You just get caught up leaning on his shoulder. And because, ultimately what a lot of Black folk want politically and emotionally is basically what we used to joke about is that great metaphorical hug, right? They just want to be embraced deeply in the warm bosom of the white man who has declared to never be racist again. That's all they want. They just want the white man to love them the way they love the white man.
Transform the politics of this nation, and it will allow us to build the political will to be able to repair those past harms. Part of what you asked is about a crime bill. In the state legislature, I had a constituent of mine murdered by the police. His name was Javier Ambler. He was an unarmed Black man who was pulled over for not dimming his brights.
Whoa. The question is about reparations, not your homie that got shot by the police. Nobody give a shit about your homie. Niggas get shot every day, B. I want my slavery check. And was your Black friend named Javier Munoz? Wait, hold on. Run that back. What's the name of his Black friend?
Be able to repair those past harms. Part of what you asked is about a crime bill. In the state legislature, I had a constituent of mine murdered by the police. His name was Javier Ambler. He was an unarmed Black man.
His name was Javier Homeboy.
Legislature, I had a constituent of mine murdered by the police. His name was Javier Ambler.
Javier Homeboy. That was my Black friend. All right? He was my friend. Javier was a real nigga to me. Right? You don't know about all the times me and my nigga Javier, we used to sit up and talk about politics and racism and shit. And Javier, he would look over and say to me, James, you know that shit really racist, right? And I'd be like, yeah, man, I know. That was my nigga Javier. And the police shot my nigga Javier, y'all. God damn it, I'm gonna miss you, Javi.
I had a constituent of mine murdered by the police. His name was Javier Ambler. He was an unarmed Black man who was pulled over for not dimming his brights. He told the officers that night that he had a heart condition. They tased him so many times that he died right in front of them. The whole thing was filmed for a reality TV show called Live PD. It's kind of like Cops. I worked with Javier Ambler's family, his sister Kimberly. She and I started to do some digging, and we found that there's an incredible amount of research on these reality TV policing programs, that these programs encourage more violent interactions between law enforcement and their constituents, particularly their Black constituents. And so Kimberly and I, we walked the halls of the legislature. We went office to office, Democrats and Republicans alike, and we passed Javier Ambler's law, which bans reality TV policing in the state of Texas. No longer.
Wait. What the hell did the camera crew have to do with Javier, though? No, first of all, never mind that Javier is not as Black as I think I need him to be. But did the camera crew shoot Javier? How you blaming the camera crew because Javier got himself shot by the police, y'all? How is that an anti-Black crime bill, by the way, either? How does that help?
No longer can a reality TV show like Live PD or Cops contract with a law enforcement agency in Texas.
Yeah, and every cop has body cam damn near nowadays because of the BLM era, because we wanted to document how awful the police are. And now all we really know is how awful a lot of you niggas are when you get encountered with the police or whatever. And how does that actually stop niggas from getting shot by the police? We've seen the body cams. There's a good chance that Javier did something stupid. There's a good chance Javier did a lot of stupid things that day. And then they tased him to death.
At any level, local, county, or state. But that same session, Representative Rose, you remember this, the George Floyd Act didn't even make it to the House floor. So while we made progress for Javier, while we made progress in banning these reality TV policing programs, we failed to pass the George Floyd Act, which would have been transformational in ensuring that police officers are actually protecting and serving all of us. And I hope that when we win this seat, when we win a Senate majority, we will be able to pass federal legislation to protect all Americans from police violence, including our Black communities. So thank you.
He asked for the anti-Black hate crime bill, and you gave him more body cams. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but that was not an anti-Black hate crime bill. That was anti-police legislation. But anyway.
What are you going to do to rebuke and admonish your supporters and surrogates who sit up online all day, angry, attacking, it went beyond Congresswoman Crockett. Yes, beyond. What are you going to do to rebuke the likes of Keith Edwards, Roe DSA, and David Piper, the voice actor, who harasses and threatens Black politicals who politicians in this area depend on to promote voting education and voting mobilization? But when they're harassing us simply because we are active voters who want our candidate to be held accountable because he tells us to hold him accountable.
Let me say this as clearly as I possibly can. If you claim to be my supporter, if you claim to be a part of this movement that we are building, please keep Congresswoman Crockett's name out of your mouth.
All right, thank you.
The Congresswoman and I ran a competitive primary. She and I have been friends since we both served in the state legislature together. She is a leader in this state. She's a leader in this country, and she deserves the utmost respect. And if I had not been successful, I don't think I would have been ready the morning of to turn around with an endorsement of the whole ticket. That is because the Congresswoman puts all of us ahead of herself. She always has. And that deserves our praise, not our criticism. And she has a job as a Congresswoman. She doesn't need to be doing any of this, but she is recruiting supporting fundraising for down ballot candidates all over this state, all over this country. And that is how we're going to win.
She's doing all that for everyone but you, though, James. That's really what's going on here. You're doing all that she's doing all that for everybody but you. She has refused to help James Tallarico at all in his campaign. And not only that, she's kind of got a lot of hostile energy that she can rest on right now.
Here, you answer our questions or you suffer the consequences.
So I'm happy to engage. We'll come to here in just a second. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you traveling in, and I appreciate
I did
you.
it for my people, not for you.
Wonderful. And I think that's wonderful. I think that's wonderful. And it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. This is what this conversation is supposed to be about. Yeah. So one.
Here, you answer our questions or you suffer the consequences.
Now, I think that lady put out her own video. Let me see. I have that up here somewhere. Let me jump to this lady. This disgruntled Jasmine Crockett voter.
But for us real black folks, everyday black people, we're going to sit this shit out. We're going to undervote your ass, James Tallarico, because I know civics. You talking all that fly ass shit, I know civics. And what I know for a goddamn fact is we've survived Ken Paxton as the AG. Moving that motherfucker down the road to the Senate decreases his ability to terrorize and torture Black Texas voters and Texas children. So a win is a motherfucking win. But what I will not have you do is try to instill your great white hope in my motherfucking people and watch you let us down. I'm not fixing to let your white moderates win. Because in 2028, we need to elect a new motherfucking president. And if you white moderates and you lowly ass fucking candidates like James Tallarico keep pulling your shit, we're going to end up with another fucking Trump. And that is something my people can't tolerate. So you're going to get this motherfucking lesson now. You're going to get it. And your white moderates are going to get it too. So maybe when 2028 rolls around, you will know, Black Texas voters, we ain't fucking playing with you. Yeah, that white boy should have stayed where the fuck he was. Because you came here thinking you was dealing with colored people and you met real niggas only. And speaking of colored people, for you ashy motherfuckers, you bus stop bitches, in the background of the video that said that I'm rude for handling his ass the way he should be handled, I don't have time to be pleasant. I'm a black woman in Texas. And these motherfuckers is coming for our lives.
She ain't got time to be pleasant, all right? She is a black woman in Texas, and they about to Juneteenth us all over again. And she's not about to have that. She is not about to have that, all right? Give a concise explanation of what she said. American man, she's angry and she's black and she doesn't have to take it anymore. That's basically what she, she used a lot more words than I did, obviously, but that's pretty much it. She's angry and she's black, we're not gonna take it. That's basically what she's doing. She's doing the, we're not gonna take it thing.
Guys mad at the post behind me. Why are you mad? It's not to tear down James Tallarico, who is the Democratic nominee. It's not to tear him down. It's telling the truth. After he won in March, he clearly defeated Jasmine Crockett because he had a large turnout from Latinos and white people on the Democratic side because he won in a lot of counties in Texas. The only county he didn't win in was the black precincts in, I believe, Harris County and some parts of Dallas County, if I'm not mistaken. So he had from March to develop his coalition with black folks. He was focused on majority of the white folks and majority of the Latino folks, but the largest Democratic base and the largest black eligible voters in the country are in Texas. So for the folks that are pissed off, I said what I said. And the fact that James Tallarico even said it himself that he got work to do, he literally got work to do.
So how are you attacking this knowing full well you have to put together a coalition, a significant black turnout, significant Latino turnout, as well as getting a white turnout, knowing full well that you've had Republicans that have dominated among white voters?
You're exactly right. We have to build a big tent. We have to have a big coalition if we're going to pull this off, if we're going to win Texas. And I've experienced doing this. You know, we talked earlier about how I flipped a Trump district in Williamson County, Texas in 2018. And in our district, we had historic black turnout. We had historic Latino turnout. And we were also able to peel off Republican voters who were feeling left behind by the Republican Party. And we did all those things, and it added up to a 51% coalition, enough to win the seat. And we're going to do that statewide. We're going to have historic black and brown turnout. We're going to have to make sure that young people are showing up. And we're going to have to compete out in rural Texas, where we may not win every county, but we are at least building our coalition so that we have enough people to win in November. That's going to be the playbook for winning this race in Texas.
So as I said, if you're mad at this post, maybe you need to check yourself and tell the Tallarico campaign that they got to do more with black people, because he has 60% of support in the polls, but you cannot always rely on the polls. Turnout is big at the end of the day. So don't get mad at me. I'm just a messenger.
Now, remember, this whole Democrat civil war really isn't about black people per se, although there are black people sprinkled on both sides of whatever direction is being pulled in. I want to take a look at some of these black socialist people briefly.
Armed struggle is the highest form of struggle. So these people that are doing all these horrible things, they need to be suppressed. They need to be suppressed. There is no free marketplace, free exchange of ideas with the enemy.
We're going to bring you to people's justice. We're going to execute you after the revolution. A lot of comrades do is they try to live vicariously through the struggles of other people, forgetting that our purpose is to make revolution here in the United States and actually get this albatross from around the neck of the world's people. One thing about Maoists, when we say protracted people's war, we mean protracted. We will literally fight you for 100 years. What violence? Somebody popping the tires on a Waymo or somebody burning a Waymo is not political violence. The Democrats are objective enemies. They're enemies of Palestinian people. They're enemies of black people. They're enemies of immigrants. If everybody at DSA was like you guys, we would have the revolution tomorrow. Revolutionary violence is universal law. That's how this country was founded. That's how revolutionary China was founded. That's how you got the ability to do every single fucking thing you do. You're able to knock on doors for Zeron because fucking 150, 200, how long ago was the American Revolution? 200, 250 years ago, whatever. No settler colonial state has the right to exist. None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. They don't. They don't have the right to exist. Okay? That is why everybody making under $50,000 a year should be given a rifle and a little red book. Maoism is authoritarian and suppresses the people, like in Tiananmen Square. Okay, so what does authoritarianism mean? Maoism, well, people that say this are halfway right. So, yes, when it comes to people like fascists, when it comes to people like the police, when it comes to people like anybody who dares raise a hand to the proletariat, who dares raise a hand to queer people, who dares raise a hand to an immigrant, yes, we are authoritarian. Those people need to be stopped by any means necessary.
I'm not going to say the thing about a landlord, because who knows who's listening. Go out and send a strongly worded letter to your landlord tonight.
Strongly worded letter in the form of a very hot piece of metal. Peace.
This is really what the Democrat socialists are about. They don't really have an interest in blackety black anything. It's all revolution all the time, no breaks. And one of the biggest left-wing streamers out there, I don't really think he is on YouTube. He's on a lot of platforms, but he is all over the internet. And he is, a socialist, a Democrat socialist guy. And he's got, some thoughts about this whole black versus Democrat socialists versus Democrat Party civil war.
Really isn't DSA because of the DSA specific DSA chapter's fault. Okay, so maybe hush. Anyway, we're not going to get into that. But the other part of it, I do think black socialists get sidelined by white progressives. I mean, I don't know if I fully there's definitely an element of that. This community is one where that doesn't happen, and yet still, there's a broader problem, right? Do you know what I mean? Think about it this way. How many people have said that DSA is anti-black, DSA is taking away black power, brown power from the New York political machine? The DSA slate was all black and brown folk except for one guy. So there is this weird narrative that mainstream outlets also play a formative role in advancing that robs people of their identity, that robs people of their blackness if they're democratic socialists, that robs people of their Latina background if they're democratic socialists. And it's the same principle for Zionism, right? If you're critical of Israel, you're no longer Jewish. We saw this with Brad Lander. And Brad Lander is as pro-Israel as you can be while still being critical of Israel, right? And they made it seem like Brad Lander was actually anti-Semitically unseating Dan Goldman. All the Jews that voted for Brad Lander over Dan Goldman were no longer Jewish in the eyes of the media.
It's really funny, though, watching all the buzzwords that they use get turned against them now. Now you're the fascist. Now you're the racist. Now you're the anti-Semite.
This happens all the time. And it's very fucking frustrating. Can we stop saying black and brown? That's literally the problem right there. I mean, I don't know. What do you want me to say? BIPOC? Yeah, the establishment weaponizing racial politics to defend corporate interests over the rights of all people, regardless of race, is so disgusting. 4 out of 6 people here are not white, and one of them, one of the white people is Jewish, a group that they also claim the left hate. Is so bad faith, a disgusting way that they try to turn people against each other with millions in dark money from corporations and special interest groups. Even when phenomenal left-wing candidates like Janice, Jerry, Lisa, Milot Kuros can win black and non-white voters, they spread misinformation and slander these progressive women of color. Is truly disgusting the lengths that they'll go to create a false narrative that somehow the left is more anti-black and white supremacist than the same centrist MLK warned us about.
Bipocalypse is a great term. I already know where I think I know where you're going with that, right? The idea that this is the end of your true authentic black identity. The more socialist and revolutionary your politics becomes, the further away from an authentic black identity you have to get. You necessarily have to move away from that, because the revolution really isn't black or brown or white, for that matter. It's red. And you can't really be a black revolutionary. You have to be folded into all of these other revolutionary concepts. And the outcome of that is you lose your blackness and you just become a red nigga.
But anyway, listen. The other thing I was going to say is there is a truth to the fact that we on the left have not leaned into our black comrades as much. This is something that has to change. Okay. That's number one. Because at the end of the day, I will never be able to have the impact in a black neighborhood that the Jam Boys will in their own neighborhood in Chicago. You know what I mean? I will never understand this experience. You know, I can only empathize, but I can never understand it fully. I will never be able to live this experience. So that's one. Same with Sean the Black, right? So we have a lot of work. We have a lot of work to build a network and boost we have a lot of work to do as far as like developing a network.
Does anybody know the story of James Baldwin visiting communist Russia? Was it James or no, I think it was Paul Robeson. I don't think it was James Baldwin. I think it was Paul Robeson before James Baldwin was even a thing. Do you guys remember Paul Robeson? You know, famous black like actor, writer, whatever. I think he did like, I don't know, Othello. He probably played Odysseus and you know, some play back in the day. He was one of those, you know, Shakespearean Juilliard type of niggas or whatever. And Paul Robeson, you know, big time communist, big time political agitator and all that. He goes over to Russia because, you know, Russia, communism, revolution, it's all good shit. And he gets to Russia and he realizes what the real game is and what, you know, how they really do the people over there. You know, he saw the Holodomor, right? He saw the camps, basically, right? He saw the camps. And eventually the Russians were like, damn, you know, we can't let this nigga leave. We're going to tell everybody. And so he had to be like smuggled out of communist Russia because communism does not really love your blackness, y'all. Communism is not a black place. It's not a black place for black people to be. Do I remember the Lafayette Theater on Lafayette, the Robeson Theater on Lafayette and Green in Brooklyn? I remember it being there, but I have never actually been to that theater though. I'm not even sure if it's still there anymore because everything is getting torn down now. I swear to God, every time I go back in the city, every time I go back to the city, I see something new that I don't like.
And boosting black voices so that they can turn around and organize in their communities. So we can bring them into this larger working class movement. And part of that also means like going to HBCUs, for example. Like we don't have a presence in these spaces at all. We don't have a presence in black churches. We don't have a presence in HBCUs. You know who does though? Establishment Democrats. And not just black establishment Democrats, just establishment Democrats in general. And another part of that problem that draws, at least according to, you know, Sean's analysis on this issue, another problem here is also the dismissive ways in which those on the left talk about DEI, affirmative action, initiatives such as that. I have always talked about it being a Band-Aid solution and yet still one that is necessary and you know, talked about the broader the broader complications when you attack these sorts of things and like successfully destroy them, what that means for black people getting a leg up. But there are definitely some people who will just say, no, fuck that. Like we shouldn't focus on that. In order to organize in the white working class, we need to not focus on things like that. Now that comes across as too dismissive. And it's a conversation that black people have heard many times over.
Yeah. The more revolutionary you get, the more you have to lose your blackness, y'all. That is the struggle that's really happening right now. And it's inevitable. It really is inevitable, because just like you told these people, you just said that, you can't reach these black kids in particular neighborhoods the way like the Jam Boys could in Chicago or whatever. And the problem is, though, what you're effectively doing is trading on blackness to get the black vote, but you don't actually care about blackness, right? Because all of these black creators that you would otherwise, that you name, that you would depend on, they trade in blackness as an authenticity, right? They all have to be authentically black in order to like really reach the widest possible black audience, right? Whereas once you kind of engage with them, you're now buying their authentically black position. And then they get over all the way into like far left liberal ideology, and you realize, I can't be authentically black with all these communist niggas. They don't really care about my black shit. Matter of fact, these niggas racist too.
Right? When people hear that stuff, when people hear things like that, when black people hear things like that, they go, oh, I know what this is. You don't give a fuck about me. Okay? That's it. That's it. So we'll never get the unks and the aunties on our side if we do that. What is this? I will be expecting to recreate this YouTube short.
They need the unks and the aunties, y'all. He called it. We can never get the unks and the aunties on our side if we keep doing this shit.
For the next DSA event. Shut the fuck up, Oni. I mean, this shit's weird as fuck too. This is not. My policy is just, treat people like people. Don't go above and beyond. Don't go.
No, you can't treat people like people. Black people are special people. We are melanated, magical Negroes, and you can't just treat people like people.
Wait, what? Great. Now, what's our motto? We was kings. We was kings.
We was kings. We was kings, and then we was slaves. You can't just treat us like any old other person, man.
Overboard. That's weird. That's no way to organize. It's far better to have black allies in these communities that bring us into these communities to help them organize than to go to those communities and do this kind of fucking symbolic otherizing of black people, right? Because that shit doesn't, that shit's lame and strange. And in some ways, it's also kind of racist because it's so performative. And it's also like,
Are you calling the Democrat establishment racist too now? Everybody's racist now. Everything is racist. If everything is racism, nothing is racism then.
It still goes back to me. What am I doing as a white person? Look at me. It's white performance. Okay? Like, look at me. I'm a white guy and I'm going above and beyond with my acknowledgement. Just fucking be normal. Like, what is this performance? That's the way I read it, at least. That's why I hated the Nancy Pelosi kente cloth shtick, It's just silly. It's so transparent. It's so, maybe it works. I don't know. Maybe older voters like it. But in any case, yeah, this is the take I hear a lot. Yeah, we heard it for 200 years. Let us prioritize white people, please. Then you'll get what you want. Then we get cut out and excluded and told to be happy when we got the crumbs. Yeah. But the problem is, it's not like the establishment is giving black people anything either.
Nobody's going to give black people anything. And I think that's where we kind of can end. Like think about what he's revealing in that tone, in that response that he just gave you.
Told to be happy when we got the crumbs. Yeah. But the problem is, it's not like the establishment is giving black people anything either. But the difference is the establishment is at least like the establishment offers, you know, a comforting face, lip service, and it's there. It's funding. There's a funding vehicle from the party apparatus that trickles down to these black organizations and institutions, right?
Right. Nobody's gonna get a reparations check, but you can all get a government job. You can drive a bus, or you can work down at the DMV.
We're talking about here, right? Dems will give money. Like Jim Clyburn is always going to have money from the Democratic Party that he can distribute to South Carolina groups, right? To different black organizations and institutions in South Carolina. So there is like a payment patronage system that already exists. And that creates, obviously, a lot of trust.
Superstructure that allows people like Clyburn to basically take large segments of black voters and dump them into the neoliberal corporate section of the Democratic Party.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason DeGette got pissed off at Clyburn, he failed to get the black vote for her. That's why she wanted him replaced as a whip. Yeah. Notice how these articles always emphasize black and Latino leaders, not ordinary non-white voters. The divide isn't between non-white voters and the DSA, is between non-white voters and their out-of-touch leaders who are enraged.
Yeah. I could do a whole other show on just Hassan Piker leading like this type of democratic socialist revolt, basically, in the party. But I don't know if I'm going to do that. There's some other Hassan clip I wanted to just play. It's too long to really do the whole
Here's the problem. Okay. The Congressional Black Caucus has been a part of the entrenched power in the establishment Democratic machine. But in the past, they were fairly radical. Okay. Now, the issue is what they have become is not so radical. Statement from the CBC chair, Yvette D. Clark, and former chair Stephen Horsford and Joyce Betty in response to comments made by Elisa Slotkin. With respect to our Senator Elisa Slotkin, House Democrats don't need a lesson on reading the political moment from someone who handed Donald Trump one of the most corrupt cabinets in American history. Voting to confirm Kristi Noem, Pam Bondi, and 5 other Trump cabinet secretaries is not the posture of someone who understood the moment. Apparently, Slotkin did not vote to confirm Pam Bondi, but everybody else. Okay. Never forget, the Congressional Black Caucus chose Hillary Rodham Clinton over Barack Obama. Now, obviously, Barack Obama isn't like the progressive hero in his governance as he presented himself as, but at the time, he was the insurgent, and the CBC pushed for Hillary Clinton over Barack Obama. That shows you exactly how the CBC operates, okay? Now, will the CBC change its attitude and go back to more historic radical roots? I don't know. Only time will tell. I don't think so.
Now, Hassan is trying to explain that you niggas just ain't radical enough. That's like telling your girl that you used to be a bad bitch. Right? I dare y'all to try that. All right? Try that one day. Just go home and tell whatever woman you got in the house, tell her, you know, you used to be a baddie. What happened to you? That's basically what Hassan is doing to the Congressional Black Caucus, right? We said you used to be a bunch of baddies. Now y'all all fat and lame. Like, damn, I can't get jiggy with this shit.
But as you have seen, the Democratic Socialist movement is actively working to refill the ranks of the Congressional Black Caucus with true radical Democratic Socialists. Ironically enough, this is the same dynamic that I have maintained. This is the same dynamic that I've mentioned, right? That like there are other Democrats you've never heard from, that are just like regular establishment Democrats that are in the Congressional Black Caucus, for example, that will just as easily caucus with the new plank of power within the Democratic Party because they're not as like ideologically minded and diehard defenders of third way neoliberalism. So if things move in that direction, who knows? I just don't think Jeffries is going to be the guy who will push for that change because he is specifically groomed. He is specifically groomed by Nancy Pelosi for this position. If this is true, then maybe we should ask the establishment if the establishment is really serving the interests of black people because they're standing in the way of all of it. Yeah.
What are black interests, though? That's the problem with the Congressional Black Caucus. Other than being black, what are you really caucusing for? Like, I don't really get that part of it. Like, everybody knows you niggas are black, but what the hell do you want? And then that's a whole other thing too. I see what you mean, American Man. American Man says, pull up a picture of the so-called CBC, barely any blacks. And then Lone Star Bell says, yeah, they're replacing them with Africans. This is why we have this, this nativist FBA anti-black immigrant movement among black Americans, because you know, as much as they tell you shit like, oh, replacement theory is a racist white conspiracy theory, in reality, black folk are on the like the bleeding edge of being replaced right now. They're not replacing neighborhoods and Martha's Vineyard. They're not replacing people who live in wealthy and upper middle class suburban neighborhoods. The easiest place to put these people is in the lower class, lower political powered black community, right? You don't have the money and you don't have the political organization to block what's happening. And so you're going to get replaced first. And then they're going to come for the white man. That's how it rolls.
One of the biggest problems with the CBC, with the Congressional Black Caucus, is that it's one of the biggest like boomer coalitions out there, and they have been an impediment to new black voices coming into Congress, or at least the type of black voices that are coming into Congress being, you know, establishment Democrats for the most part. Okay, like there's less young black voter participation. There's young black participation in politics in general. And I do think that the entrenched power that the Congressional Black Caucus represents within the Democratic Party is unironically a big factor in that. For like the last couple of decades, the CBC has been pretty fucking aggressively a loyal soldier of the entrenched power within the party. Clyburn is obviously a great example of this, but the way that the Congressional Black Caucus has moved has been another great example of this. Now, this is also true, though. Here, this is something that Michael Hardaway brings up. The policy DNA is the Black Caucus. The marketing is Democratic Socialist.
Memdani and the DSA, these are just reheated Congressional Black Caucus policies over the last 55 years. I mean, housing affordability, healthcare. I mean, John Conyers, who's a founding member of the CBC, introduced a Medicare for All bill 23 years ago. And so these aren't new things. And
yeah, remember, you niggas used to be revolutionaries and radical. The problem with the revolution is that the issue is never the issue. The issue is always the revolution. And so when you raise up all these issues that Black people allegedly cared about back in the day, the problem is a lot of these issues have been addressed in one place or another. You know, we've tried this and we've tried that, yet you don't really care about the gains. Like technically, dollar for dollar, Black America probably is wealthier now than we were like in 1920, even though we've traded that for a level of social dysfunction that I don't think is worth it. I think it's better to be poor and intact than to be wealthy and constantly insecure and at odds with everything, right? We had a more intact, cohesive culture way back when. But regardless, I think the idea of constant revolution means that you're always going to be pushing Black folk further and further past their own goals. Because it was never about the Black people. It's always about the revolution.
So Sean is absolutely correct. Says if this is true, then maybe we should ask if the establishment is really serving the interests of Black people because they're standing in the way of all of it. There's a reason why many of the DSA endorsed candidates recently are Black. There are inroads the Black caucus can and should be building, but they are not. One must ask why. That's true. Chris Rabb, Maylon Quiros, Daria Liza. The saddest state of affairs is that the Congressional Black Caucus has been a representation of entrenched power within the center of the National Democratic Party for the last couple of decades. It's just true. Yeah, Frederick Haynes is another great example of a Black radical. Like, younger Black voices that are not invested in the continuation of third-way neoliberalism have been totally fucking cast aside. There is an expression of this exact enmity that you see with Black Zionism on Twitter.
Not Black Zionism. Oh my God. Are you talking about the Hebrew Israelites? What the hell is that? I don't even know. You know what? Actually, that I know exactly what that is. There are Black Zionists out there, and it's yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Yeah, we're not gonna do that though. Anyway, I've been up here running my mouth for a long enough time. I think I gotta get out of here. I think we've kind of come to the end of today's show. I know, right? Dear Lord, I know. Listen, we've pretty much come to the end of today's shenanigans here. I think I don't know, maybe tomorrow, if not later on this evening, then definitely tomorrow. I got to get all these shows in on the weekend when I got as free as a hand as I can manage, right? But we got to talk about this nigga named what was his name again? Hold on, I was just looking him up. This nigga named Corey Ruiz. Corey Ruiz. He got shot by the police recently, and they're trying to George Floyd him. I don't think it's gonna work. I don't think America has tolerance for another George Floyd, and niggas already shot their load with that one. But we gotta talk about Corey Ruiz and the new George Floyd they're trying to create. But that being said, appreciate your support. Thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate you all for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit that link. Make sure you support the show. Buy me a coffee. Hit me on Venmo. I'm working on a Cash App. I'm trying to see if I can figure out how to get me another Cash App up and running. But until then, like, share, subscribe. Hit me on Venmo. Hit me on buymeacoffee.com. Appreciate you guys watching. I also stream this to Kick for the first time ever. I'm kind of learning the new platform thing over there. So shout out to everybody who watched over on Kick. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace, y'all.
Aspiring to be patriarchs like what white men have, that isn't freedom. That isn't going to help anybody. It's certainly not going to help black people.
It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done.